Launched in September, the One Roar Fund will serve as a vehicle to help all 31 of Columbia's varsity athletics programs and club sports to compete at the highest level. We remain committed to providing our student athletes with the best resources available to help them achieve their goals. Although competition has been postponed, the competitive fire within our student athletes still burns as they await the call to return to athletic events. One Roar will provide our 700-plus student athletes with the necessary resources to stay in prime shape, mentally sharp, and above all, healthy and safe, as we await the continuation of Ivy League play. Together, we roar as one.
Columbia fans, celebrate 150 years of Columbia football with an official shirt. With options in both men's and women's sizes, this authentic shirt is exclusive to the Columbia Athletics team store. Order today at GoColumbiaLions.com.
Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in. Tonight's episode will be episode 2, part 2, covering the 2017 season where the Lions finished 8-2. Please sit back and enjoy.
We're at Robert Kraft Field on the northern tip of Manhattan Island for what might just be one of the biggest games in Columbia football history. The Lions are 4-0 for the first time in 21 years, and they take on one of the co-defending champions, the Penn Quakers.
We know what we got to do today. I'm not worried. I'm honestly, I'm more confident right now than I've ever been in my life. All right?
I'll start. Definitely the biggest game in my life. Definitely the biggest game to the program in our time there, and for 20 some odd years before that. So we knew it was going to be a big game, and I remember feeling like we were favorites in the game, but I think we were underdogs. And when that came out, I know that we were kind of pissed off. I think that we were balancing a fine line between being overconfident and the perfect level of confidence. Because, Columbia 4-0, there were a lot of, the media, the New York media was getting involved. I think it was the first time in our career, and Durs, Lord, and Bewley, I think we had 5 media members at every practice, and it was like, what is this? This is not something that's normal. So there was some distraction. But going into the game, I remember, Penn just disrespected us the year before. There was a play in particular that they were up by, I think, 2 touchdowns at the time, and it was 20 seconds to go. They could have taken a knee, and they threw a halfback pass for a touchdown, and that was something that really ticked us off the year before. And I know Ferraro remembered that vividly, and that was something that we kind of remembered. And this game was more about getting revenge and dominating them than any of the hoopla outside of it.
No Penn ball carrier with more than 8. 5 carriers have at least 3 carries today. Play action comes out to Watson. Blockers in front. Watson cut down. Ball comes out at the end. It's loose. Columbia recovers. There's the turnover. Landon Beatty stripped it.
Pulling that out. Landon Beatty, we've seen him do that before.
It's been aided by a pick 6 to build this 2-score lead. Quarterback keeper Fisher Colbury fumbled the football, and Columbia recovers.
And the crowd immediately back in this game.
Second recovery today for Michael Murphy.
Yeah, and I think just kind of touching on Landon's underdog narrative there. At that point, like he said, there was a stronger media following. We were 4-0. People were starting to kind of buy into the hype. But I think, especially for a lot of the seniors, and we kind of fed this down to the underclassmen as well, I think we always still tried to play with a chip on our shoulder and not go into any game saying, okay, yeah, this is going to be a cakewalk. I think we thrived on the fact that we still like to believe that people didn't believe in us. We still were the underdog, even though we were winning games at that point. And I think that's something that I really clung on to. And I know Santos, before every single game, he was like, no one thinks we're the best offense in the league. No one thinks we're the best defense in the league. No one thinks you're the best quarterback in the league, all this stuff. Regardless of how well we had played the week before, I think just always going into every single game with the mindset that, hey, they're not respecting us. That's what always kind of got me fired up.
3rd and long. It's intercepted over the middle. Justin wheeling forward. Flag is out as he's down to the 23. It has not been a great offensive day for this Columbia team. They have only 200 yards of offense. Hill taking a deep shot, looking for it all at once. That's Josh Wainwright. He got him. Touchdown. 59 yards.
We said that there was going to be some explosion here because this offense and these wide receivers are too good for it not to happen.
Penn has negative yards on offense in this fourth quarter. Negative 2 yards. 3rd and 8.
Columbia has guys looking like they're coming. Interesting to see whether they do send them. They don't. They back them off into coverage.
Fisher Colbury cocks the arm. Hit as he throws. It's intercepted. Jalen Williams over the 20. Second time this quarter, Columbia has intercepted Will Fisher Colbury.
I mean, it was pretty cool, honestly. Like, going into the game, I had rolled my ankle pretty badly the week before in Marist, so I didn't even know if I was going to be able to play. So, like, kind of going into the game plan was kind of only 3rd down. So, even as a freshman, just understanding that was going to be my first opportunity to get, like, meaningful snaps in what was a pretty big game. It was pretty cool. And then just being able to go out there and just execute, really help the team out in a way that kind of was surreal. I didn't really see myself getting 2 interceptions. You always like daydreaming the night before, thinking about what the game's going to be like, but you never actually think it's going to happen. So to go through that and then get the 2 interceptions was just awesome. And the crowd only made it that much better. So it was a really dope experience.
12 tackles, 3.5 for a loss, a sack, and 2 fumble recoveries for Murphy against his dad's alma mater, Penn.
That's a career day.
Yeah, so when I look back on kind of my career at Columbia, I definitely circle that 2017 Penn game as one of my personal best performances and probably one of the best moments in my football career, and for good reason. I think that was a game going into that, it was just at a time when we were trying to go 5-0 for the first time since '96. There was a lot of hype surrounding that season, and I had just a tremendous week of preparation, watching film with Coach Stovall and Coach Ferraro. And we just had an excellent plan going into that game. And thankfully, I think when I woke up that morning, I just felt a little different. I felt like it was going to be my day. I can truly say that from showing up at breakfast to the pregame kind of ritual, everything leading up to it. I just felt like something good was going to happen that day. And, thankfully, I just was seeing the field a little bit different, and they tried to test that perimeter a lot that game with reverses and sweep plays, which kind of ran right in my direction, and thankfully I was able to just beat blocks, play quickly, and kind of see the play before it happened, which is rare. I wish I could have felt that way going into every single game. I look back and I was think, wow, I wish I could have had 3-4 more Penn type games, but that day was just different. And I think the mentality of the crowd, the ability of our team to kind of bounce back from going down early, everything leading into it, I just felt like it was our time, and I felt like I had to do everything in my personal power to kind of make it happen for us. And was just so thankful, first off, to be in that position as a sophomore, as kind of a younger guy, and have that breakout performance and really say, okay, I'm not done. I'm gonna play like this and hopefully continue and build upon this throughout my junior year and senior year as well. So just a tremendous game, a moment that I will never forget.
And 60 minutes is not enough to separate these two teams. We'll head to overtime in New York City. Next to Will Fisher Colbury. It's a screen pass to Watson. Everybody knew it was coming, and Watson loses 6 yards. Michael Murphy's having a spectacular day at linebacker.
I was honestly just so stoked for overtime. Just really quick, you guys can talk after this, but I love college overtime more than anything, and I'd never gotten to play in one before. So I was so fired up for that.
That's fun because my memory is from the coin toss, because I remember standing there just absolutely exhausted. I was just being completely authentic. I was so tired. I don't remember what the dude's name was, but Penn had this defensive end who was he was a really good player, and we had just been dueling all game. And we were standing there across from each other, and it was kind of like that look of mutual respect, right? Like we were both captains. We were both standing there like just dog tired, but it was like, okay, like it's go time. Like let's have one last hurrah. And then we won the coin toss. Well, they lost the coin toss. Defense went out, did their job, and I knew while we were up there, I could see it in their eyes, we were winning that game. Whenever we came back, right, because we had to make one hell of a comeback to get to overtime, and whenever we took it to OT, it was over from there. They had lost, they had lost that kind of fire, and I knew when we were there that we were winning.
The crowd was loud, and I don't think it was a sellout, but we came back. We were down 14-0. Crowd was kind of out of it. Made some plays, got some turnovers, scored some touchdowns. The crowd started getting into it. I know that at homecoming, especially, everyone's up top on the granite or the blacktop up there, having fun at the tailgates. But once we went into overtime, it felt like everyone was back in the stadium, and it was loud. It was the first time, and I think it was a learning experience for our crowd, because they were getting loud when we were on offense, and that's not what you're supposed to do. But on defense, it was getting really loud, and I kept trying to – I was on the far side of the field to start overtime, and I was calling out to Cam Roan the call, and he couldn't hear me, like I couldn't hear him, and I was like, thought to myself, I was like, this is sweet. Like, this is college football. This is awesome. But my vivid memory of that is the first play, Murph making that unbelievable tackle, and what an unbelievable performance individually from him. It's just incredible. But right when he made that play, I knew, I was like, all right, let's go.
Touchdown wins the game, sends them to 5-0 for the first time since 1996. Here comes 3rd and 9. Hill, pocket holds, firing to the end zone. Wainwright makes the catch. Touchdown, Columbia. The Lions win it.
Crowd running from the stands out to the field. A scene unlike we've ever seen here in New York City.
Columbia's first win over Penn since 1996 came in overtime, and how fitting is it? Anders Hill to Josh Wainwright.
Yeah, I think I can't remember the rest of the play, but I know Josh was on a corner post down the middle, and they were in Tampa too, so Mike was supposed to kind of get back and take that away because the safeties were splitting the middle of the field. And I remember as soon as I snapped the ball, I was just kind of eyeing that area right around the mic. Didn't really see him turn his hips at all. And then I think when I hit like my second step in my drop and he hadn't turned and run, I knew that Josh was going to beat him over the top. It was going to be right there. So tried to kind of keep my eyes away from it a little bit and then just let it fly. So Josh ran an unbelievable route, offensive line. Gave me a perfect pocket. I think they brought a little pressure too, but what's discounted with that play also is that I think it was like 3rd and 10 or something like that. We were on our own 25, so that was not going to be an easy field goal to send it into a second OT if we didn't get that. But because of a great play call and everyone doing their job, ended up winning the game, and then kind of pandemonium ensued afterwards.
Yeah. I mean, to be completely candid, I think it's something that every athlete, looks forward to, a moment like that. And looking back, I just find myself so thankful and grateful that, I was able to experience that. But there was nothing like catching that ball in the end zone, realizing that we had just, beaten a team we hadn't beaten in 20 plus years at home in overtime, last play of the game on homecoming with the pack stand. And, my first thought was to punt the ball, right? It was to punt into the stand and just get rid of it. Like, I didn't want it near me because we just did that, like, as a team. But, obviously I ended up spiking it. The ref went tumbling. That was enough in and of itself. But to see the fans, rush the field and to have that moment where, the team was in a big dog pile and we were all just experiencing that moment together, it was almost like a culmination of X amount of years of Columbia football had built up to that point. And, I certainly felt the love on the field. There were tons of fans, tons of alumni who came up and, they were just so grateful that they got the chance to experience that in person. And that's when you really realize that, those moments actually matter. And there was not a moment that I've been prouder in my life, not only, for what I was able to accomplish, but for what the team was able to accomplish, and that we were able to come together in that moment and, propel an undefeated season to continuation and give ourselves a chance not only to do the best that we could the rest of the season, but, to give our fans that experience of a homecoming win in thrilling fashion in overtime. So I think that is definitely, has to be a top moment of my life. From what I could tell, I feel like a lot of the CU football fan base, felt the same way. So I was just happy that I could play a part in providing them that experience, and we ended up doing pretty well throughout the rest of the season too. So.
I mean, I honestly forgot what I even did after I threw it. I just remember kind of like standing there. I looked over at Santos and was like, wow, that was pretty sweet. And then I just remember seeing Josh just get absolutely decked in the end zone by Markham, I think. So, and then of course ran in and got myself in the mosh pit. But I know there were a couple fans in there before me. I think Hank Trumbull was the first fan on the field. Former Columbia football alumni, but he was up in the stands, made it down with everyone. But yeah, it was just awesome.
Yeah, that was it was the first time that, I think that everyone at Columbia just rallied, it was a true Columbia pride. It was a moment that I'll never forget. I remember I was on the sideline, obviously. I was trying to pump up the crowd, standing on, because I'm short, I was standing on the bleachers.
Don't worry, I'll stand on the bleachers too.
Yeah, I was standing on the bleachers, and when I saw it happen, I freaked out. I didn't know, I went silent. I didn't even know what to even say. And then I saw a girl that was in my Lidhum class running onto the field and came up and gave me a hug. I was like, what is going on? This is awesome. But yeah, it was just a crazy feeling. And a little kind of, the Penn quarterback at the time was my high school quarterback. So getting that win was cool. But to see Bagnoli's reaction, it was the first time that I saw true joy after a win in his face, other than relief. It was he really, really wanted that. And I know that we wanted to, win for Columbia, but also for Coach Baggs. I know that it meant a lot for him and Coach Fab, and everyone. So huge win, great feeling. Here's to making some more of those memories on homecoming.
Yeah, just to touch on that one more time, just because you're bringing some memories back. That was a big thing just across our program, the athletic department as a whole. Because as football, we're the most seen sport outside of maybe basketball. And so all the changes in the Columbia Athletics administration and the investment in the athletics department, winning on homecoming, it's the president's there, the board of regents, all the tons of important people in the university are there. And it's a great moment to be hey, everything we've done with athletics, or all the changes we've made, this is worth it. Winning on a big stage, a bunch of fans and alumni there. And, you're vindicating a lot of hard work, not just that we did, but that people in leadership have done. So I think just top down, it was a great moment for anybody that had anything to do with Columbia athletics. It was just a good day to be a Columbia Lion.
The unknown MVP of that game was the person who had All I Do Is Win queued up right when we scored that touchdown, and Josh was right there. I don't know who that was, but that was lit.
In beautiful Hanover, New Hampshire, we have a game that matches the scenery. 5-0 Columbia, 5-0 Dartmouth with first place in the Ivy League on the line.
That was the closest legal thing to a street fight that I've ever been part of. It was, I mean, there's something about those dudes in Hanover. They're just gritty, like they get after it. It's not pretty football, but they play tough. They hit hard. They're big, strong guys. And it was just a battle for 60 minutes, right? That we didn't, there was no plays off. Everybody was just locked in. I do remember it being a pretty mouthy game from both sides. There was definitely some choice words exchanged, especially the big fellas up front, right? I don't know what you guys were doing in the back, but and yeah, that one felt good. That one felt good to win, especially right. They were undefeated also. And we were coming off of a huge win at homecoming, and it was just Charlie Mike, you know. We were there to do what we were supposed to do. Went into Hanover, got the dub, and got out of there before all hell broke loose.
Throughout my high school career, I really kind of wanted to go to Dartmouth, and that was like my dream. Actually, Coach Stevens, his son babysat me when he was the head coach at Stanford, so I knew Coach Stevens and kind of had a chip on my shoulder, and always wanted to beat Dartmouth. I also knew Jack Hennigan, their quarterback, played Pop Warner with him literally since I was 5 years old. But, you know, Dartmouth, we had a lot of respect for Dartmouth. As Bealey was saying, they're a really, really well-coached team and really strong, physical. I know from the defense perspective, I think they had probably the most talented receivers and really, really good route runners. So I remember that final drive. It was weird because we knew that they were a second half team. That was like kind of the theme going in the whole week. It was like, all right, they're just like us. They're going to come back. They're going to find a way. It's going to be a dogfight. So when we went up 16-0, it was almost like, all right, we know it's going to be close. Like we weren't like overly confident. So coming out, you know, that last drive, boy, was that. You know, BYOG, bring your own guts. It was fun, you know, and they were driving down the field. I think Uncle Paulie drew up like 9 straight zero pressures in a row on that last drive. And I'm sitting there in man coverage just holding my breath like, oh my God, what are we doing? Like, this is awesome. And then that last play, you know, I think they had the ball on like the 12-yard line. And sure enough, here comes zero blitz again, and it was a great call. I think we studded the DN, and Mike Hinton got in there and got a great sack, and you know, I think that was just relief at that point. It was like, oh my God, that was close. Like, let's get out of here. Let's go back to New York. So it was a good feeling, good win, and yeah, that was the first time that we were first place in the Ivy League, so it was awesome.
Dartmouth with the ball, first down from the 7. 17 seconds on the clock. Hennigan to throw. He's hit and sacked. Clock winding with 13. Mike Hinton off the end. Just 7 seconds remaining. Now 6 and 5 and 4. Dartmouth with 2, and they won't get the snap off. Columbia holds on with a sack from Mike Hinton to end it.
What a finish between two 5-0, now a 6-0 and 5-1 team.
Columbia's magic finds a way to work even in Hanover, New Hampshire. They're 6-0 for the first time since 1996. They have their first winning season since 1996.
I got you. That game was crazy. The defense was playing really well, but that last minute or two of the game, the fourth quarter, Dartmouth was driving. We had a little lead, and we're trying to hold on to it. And so we're allowing kind of the short passes, but eventually they got to the goal line, and that's when Coach Farrar called the timeout. And when he called the timeout, we had a play where if the running back went out, for a play, for a catch, I had to take him. But if not, I had to go with the quarterback. And so that kind of put the offensive tackle in a weird position. And so when the ball snapped, maybe like 11 seconds left, something like that, I kind of like tiptoed off the line to see what the back would do. And then he went inside. So I full sprint to the quarterback. The tackle went inside to get Mike Murphy, the linebacker. I just hit him as hard as I could. I think it was like my first career sack. And when I hit him, I should have just stayed down. I should have laid on him or so. Because it only took a few seconds. So I got up, beat my chest, and it was about to happen, and the time ran out. But it was definitely one of the best memories I had at Columbia, and definitely helped us win the game.
On a cold and chilly day that feels more like winter, it is the Columbia Lions battling the Big Red of Cornell. The Empire State Bowl has two teams near the top of the Ivy standings with Big Apple bragging rights on the line.
I can start with this one. I think for us that was really a bounce back game. We knew we were still in it to win the Ivy League at that point, but it dropped one to Yale and Harvard, which are both tough losses. From our perspective, both games we felt like we could have won. So I think the way we won that Cornell game in Week 9 kind of embodied that, where it was more just imposing our will on them. I think the offensive line just dominated the entire game, and we knew we could run the ball, so let's just give it to Chris Shore about as many times as we can, right?
Coming off those 2 weeks, it was tough, having so much momentum, kind of getting derailed a little bit there. It was good to come back as a team and really get, all three phases pumping again and just kind of taking it out on Cornell and coming back with some hardware. Still have a picture with me, Markham, Anders, and Bewley holding the trophy outside the bus. You did take that picture, I think, did we have Boston Market on the way home there?
That was a Chick-fil-A. That was a Chick-fil-A.
Oh, that was Chick-fil-A.
Oh, yeah, Chick-fil-A. That's right.
Greg coming up huge. Yeah. It was a good win. Also, it was just cool to have all of our families up there too. Like I know that it was cold as hell, and to see all of our support up there was awesome after 2 hard weeks.
Yeah, that was a good game because not that it was a big thing, but I feel like there was a little bit of like a rift or animosity. It was like we weren't as gelling as much. Just after the 2 losses, it was like, all right, like what are we doing? Like, is everybody like really doing their job? Like, who's not pulling their weight? And then be able to come in and then get everything together, get all back on the same page, and then have us perform as a team well, like in all phases, was really nice and helped us finish the year on a good note.
Hunter put us in terrific position on the field, coming out, first and 10 from the 1 yard line, and when the defense gets put in that position, we're pretty excited to get going and try to stop them early. We were running a blitz. We come off the line, and I wasn't getting blocked off the line, so I knew someone was going to kick me out. I just went inside, and sure enough, someone's coming, and met the block quick and got off it. Had some great pressure from the linebacker on the inside, and just met him in the end zone. And then from there, I had the whole team on my back to keep him there. So it was really a team effort on that play. And once I met him in the end zone, I must have had 20 guys in my back keeping him there. So it was a good memory for sure.
I had one of my most enjoyable games, obviously, and I don't think it was just because I did well personally. I think it was because that was our first win against those guys in 4 years, in my 4 years. So, and then when we came in being 0-10 freshman year, and we played some tough games against those guys, and they were always kind of down there with us, and I think it really solidified that, hey, we were back. Columbia football was finally turning things around, and we were ready to compete with everybody. And I think it just really solidified that we were here and we were ready to play and we could beat anybody. So it was a lot of fun. I think it was a great win for the program and for the seniors. And so it was I really enjoyed it. And I don't think there was any specific game plan coming in, but anytime you're playing in New York in early or mid-November, you got to be able to run the ball. And I think the offensive linemen and those guys up front and Coach Fabish and wide receivers, tight ends, all those guys blocking, they really set it up. I mean, I can tell you how many times I messed up in that game and cut back too early. But luckily, if you break tackles and you do enough, you don't get yelled at and filmed on Monday. So that's what, thinking back on it, I was getting prepared for this and just kind of reminiscing on what happened. And even that run where I broke the 3 tackles, and I think it was my longest run of the day, I'm pretty sure I messed up on that and shouldn't have cut it back there. So, yeah, it just sticks with you. And I think it was a great game.
First and goal from the 2. Schroer to the right of Hill. Takes the handoff straight up the middle. Schroer looking for the end zone, and he has found it. For the first time this year, Chris Schroer into the end zone for a score, and the Lions have extended the lead to 17-0.
Boy, Jared, fitting exclamation point here.
And this is senior day for the Columbia program, as more than 30 players will play their final game as a Lion. And you know, Sal, you take a look. If they could go out the door off an 8-win season, that would be leaving quite a legacy.
The whole game was just pretty weird, right? We knew going into that game that we were quite a bit better than Brown. And, you know, I remember kind of that whole week really just kind of taking it in, right? Because I knew I was done. I wasn't playing any more football after that week. And it was really just kind of like, well, this is it. Like, this is my last Tuesday practice, my last Friday walkthrough, my last pregame warm-up, right? And kind of throughout that whole game, it was pretty emotional. Just everything that we had done that season, right? Obviously, it's pretty special to all of us. But even on top of that, right? I mean, I started playing football when I was 4 years old. You know, that's how we do it down here in Oklahoma, right? I started young. So, I mean, football had been a huge part of my life forever. And just kind of that being kind of the capstone to everything was really special and definitely a super emotional game.
Yeah, I know we were still like technically in it in case like Yale lost there. So it was still in the back of my mind. I may or may not have had people on the sideline giving me score updates at the time. But, you know, it was emotional just because, you know, this group of guys, like we literally went through so much, especially the seniors, like coming in freshman year. Like I remember living with Anders, and it was a rough year. And for the class to come together, it was special. And I think we only lost one, and it wasn't even like a transfer situation. So for the guys to stick it out, and the thing that really, you know, it's an under talked about subject, but it was the buy-in from everyone. There were seniors on that team that did not play a single snap and were just as dedicated as a starting receiver or a starting quarterback. Guys that you're not going to see that aren't in this video, but really, really made an impact. And, you know, coaches try to preach that, and it's, buy-in. But it's really the result of having multiple leaders. And it wasn't necessarily just the captains. It was the senior class that went through so much, and we wanted it, you know, and we willed it to happen. And it was through hard work. It was through, you know, day in and day out. You know, I remember when the pre-Bagnoli, and Greg, you're tenured enough to know the times, but you know, we didn't have a head coach for a couple months. I think it was like 3 months. And Coach Gilmartin was our head coach technically. You know, he was the guy that really kind of steered the ship during the unknown period. And it was emotional because we knew that, you know, it was an end. They're beginning to the end, you know, and it was just awesome, you know, and getting the win there on senior day, seeing how many football alums came out that day on senior day. I know they lined the whole from like the goal line to the 50-yard line. And in previous senior days, that wasn't the case. Like it was awesome. And like the football club did a great job there. And yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah. Sorry. I don't want to like copy what somebody else said. I did have to leave for a second there, but Brown was I remember going into it was like, okay, there's a chance we can still get the title. I just hope we win, and I hope I don't hurt myself. That was pretty much it. And then the game went on pretty well, and it was kind of cool. We kind of got to do a little. I know we did on defense. I think offense as well. A little like passing of the guard moment. Like we were up decent amount, and it was like, when these seniors started checking out, it's like, all right, that's it for me. And it was a good thing because it was like, we got to give some other seniors that hadn't gotten a chance to get on the field, like, their families there, their friends are there. They got to like, get like a decent amount, like almost like a whole, I don't know if it was like a whole second half or at least the whole fourth quarter, get some of those guys a chance to get on the field. And that was really one of the best parts for me because it's like we all go through it and do, the work, the meetings, the practices, but not everybody gets to go on the field and like enjoy like the crowd and enjoy like the publicity or whatever. And so it was cool that like, hey, we came in together and everybody gets to like taste what it feels like and gets to have a piece of it before they go. And that was honestly my favorite part of the Brown game, was just being able to watch some of the guys that I hadn't seen on the field in games get some live action.
Definitely a super emotional game for me. I think coolest part was just in the fourth quarter, looking around the sideline at all the other, I think it was 32 seniors that were part of our class. And Landon already mentioned it. I think throughout our 4 years, we only lost one. So that kind of retention rate and everyone sticking around, whether or not you were a starter, whether or not you got a lot of playing time, I think it was just a moment to really reflect on the last 4 years and everything we've been through together. So definitely very emotional for me on the sideline. I know that I was definitely crying in like Bewley and Markham's arms or something like that when the clock struck 0 there. But it was really just a cool moment. And I think very glad that we got to go out on top with a win. And as Lord said, in a fashion where you could get some of the other guys who would put so much work into the program, really giving it their all, even though they might not be on the front page or the ones getting the most recognition. So just everyone getting to have that moment was super special, I think.
So another punt. Here comes pressure. They block it. And they come up with it for a touchdown. Special teams does it again for Columbia. Justin Woodley recovered it. They block a field goal now. They block a punt and fall on it for a touchdown. Now looking to throw into the corner. Wide open, Wainwright. A touchdown and a 1,000-yard season all in one play there.
Well, what a way to get that 1,000-yard season, right? Finish it off with a touchdown, no better way. Big-time day for a big-time player, finishing off a big-time season.
And that'll do it. And that'll secure an 8-win season, the first in program history since 1996.
So to be able to put together a season like that, where we could go 8-2, was not only significant for us as current players on the team, but that was something we wanted to give all of our alumni and all of the people who kept up and were proud to, call themselves a CU football fan. And, every game, every game was more fun than the game before. And I think the biggest highlight that I can remember that season is we just had such a blast, such a good time. Everybody was connecting on all cylinders. There were jokes being thrown around, everybody was laughing. There was always a smile on the face. And sure, there were a couple games that year where, we felt like we could have performed better, but at the end of the day, I feel like that season was just something to be so proud of. And there were so many highlights and so many memories that each and every one of us involved with that team and the program in general will be able to take away. And, even now sitting back thinking of it, like I can't help but geez, just because all the good memories that we made that season. So
I think the biggest change was, you wear your Columbia football gear around campus towards week 10 of that season, and people are saying, hey, good game, like good luck this week. There was respect and there was pride in being a Columbia Lion, and that's something that football really can do to a university more so than any other sport. I feel like it's so there's so much pride in football in a university as a whole, and the culture building that program, turning it around, it was just so awesome for us, and for our class to do it was just so awesome. Something that I'll never forget. And I know it's all babies and memories now, but it's really fun reliving this season with these guys, and just hearing the tone in which people talk about Columbia football now is awesome. It shows tangible change, and it's something that we definitely pride ourselves on, and I think when we do get that ring soon, it will look back at this season and the previous seasons as kind of the turning point in that in the program.
It just feels good to be a part of, I guess, like history or maybe like a culture change. It was like, hey, we did it for like, us, our teammates, our friends, but it's like we had an effect like on like university as a whole, the program as a whole, and to be able to influence or have like such a positive impact on something is something that is not I guess it's not common. There's not many things in life where you can like in such a short time see the tangible impact, like, and that's for sure something that still sticks with me. And I don't know, it's just great to be able to like do good in a way to kind of like, I guess, give back, be able to say, hey, I did everything I could, tried my hardest and my best, and I left the program in a better place than when I got there. Like I was able to give back just as much as I got. And that's something like I can really be proud of, regardless of how, what roles we had or what we attained, just knowing like, hey, years down the road, I left this place a better place than when I showed up.
It's really just that next step as a program. It was, it felt like we had accomplished something really special, right? We knew where we started, and to be a part of that transition from being a perennial bottom dweller to really being at the top, right? We didn't win the league, but I don't think there's anyone that played Ivy League football that season that wouldn't say we were arguably the best team, right? So it was really it was really special to be a part of. And one thing that I think often gets overlooked in that turnaround is the impact that Coach Gilmartin had on our team, right? Landon kind of touched on it earlier about how we didn't have a coach for a brief period before the Bagnoli era. But something that I don't think a lot of people realize is that you actually spend more time with the strength staff than anyone else in the program. Right, you're with those guys. The football season only lasts 4 months, really, between camp through the end of the season, and you're with the strength staff the rest of that time. So his impact on the team and on the culture, and I know me personally, he really kind of molded my mindset, but my physical body as well. If any of you guys,
that's what I was gonna say.
If any of you guys remember what I looked like when I was just a young, spry 18-year-old, I was pretty round.
Okay.
And it was just like I spent a lot of time with that guy, and I can't say enough good things about Coach Gilmartin and his staff, and really just the overall impact that they had on the program and they had on the turnaround of the program.
Cap this off and echo everything everyone else said. I mean, I'm just damn proud. I think after all the work everyone put in after 4 years, it's great being able to go back, talk to alumni, talk to everyone, and just be proud of the product that we put on the field, right? And kind of the path that we blazed throughout our 4 years there. And then also just talking to the younger guys on the team there now too. I mean, the expectations have just changed. There's no more hey, I hope we have a winning season this year. It's that 8-2 is now the bar, and that's the expectation going forward. And the expectation is even higher as well with the Ivy League championship. So that's really my thing. It's just I'm very proud of what we did over our 4 years, and I'm even more proud of the impact that it's had on the younger classes that are still playing football there today.
I have one more thing to say. No one shouted you out yet, and you were with us for 4 years. So I think from all, in a serious note, from all of us, we really appreciate everything you do for Columbia football. It's not seen in the win column, but I think that you really have had a great impact on Columbia football and continue to do so, and connecting us with the current players now being alumni. You do a great job, and this series has been awesome. Look forward to catching up with the 2018 guys as well. So thank you.